We're just looking for some respect, you know?
Keep looking.
BW.
Sheriff after sheriff after sheriff. This town keeps chewing them up with its rotten teeth. And you're next.
What's good, people? Agent Juice reporting for duty. Long Gone Gulch is a indie pilot cartoon created by Tara Billinger and Zach Bellissimo that tells the story of these two kids living in a western town who are sheriffs, and you know, they do their sheriffy things. And it's shaping up to look like a pretty interesting cartoon. And I wanted to talk about it because it reminds me of the energy you got a lot from cartoons during the late 90s and early 2000s, and I'm kind of interested in seeing some of the things they touch upon in this. And of course, I'm always interested in indie creators creating their own content, even if those creators happen to work in the industry already. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and strap into our favorite Western setting. Let us go ahead and pal around with our greaser friend or our sheriff friend. Let's go ahead and fight fish who are outlaws. Let's smash them like we smashed the like button. And of course, let's go ahead and talk some indie cartoon. So, as per usual, let's start off with talking about the Speedpaint. This Speedpaint is of one of the characters in Long Gone Gulch, Buffalo Wing, or BW for short. Her shtick is that she's like this Native American shaman girl who has, freaky-deaky shaman powers. And it's really funny because she talks with that, vocal fry goth girl voice that you get out of, like, for example, Raven from Teen Titans. Hence the reason why I'm doing the crossover, because, BW kind of sounds like Raven from Teen Titans. So I decided, hey, I'll make her look like Raven. I'll give her the Raven cloak and make her do freaky deaky powers, Raven powers, because, it just seemed to match. Long Gone Gulch is a pretty cool cartoon. Of course, it tells the story of two sheriffs named Rawhide and Snag. Rawhide, of course, is the cowgirl and Snag is a greaser. Don't ask me why he's a greaser. He is. They take care of this lovely little western town that is threatened by these gangsters led by a fish named Mako. There's a kind of a antagonistic relationship between the two sheriffs and the mayor. And, they do their best to, live up to the title of sheriff, particularly Rawhide, because her story is that her dad used to be a sheriff, but her dad died. And so she has this thing where she needs to live up to her father's memory. So there's kind of a little bit of character incentive right there, if you will, for our little Rawhide. What I really admire about this show is that it's not afraid to pull its punches. This show is refreshingly violent.
End of the line, Mako.
You ain't nothing, girl. You're weak, just like your old man. That's why I killed him. Well, not really. But yeah, your daddy is dead.
So cartoon violence has this interesting history of being more squashed as time goes on. One of the things that Long Gone Gulch really reminds me of is Powerpuff Girls, OG Powerpuff Girls, because in this cartoon, characters fight until they bleed. Characters bleed in this cartoon, and I'm just like, wow, they really went with that. That is not something you'd be able to get away with nowadays, unless you made something independent, which makes me wonder if the reason why, Tara Billinger and Zach Bellissimo made this an independent pilot is because they knew that they wouldn't get studio money in order to tell the story they wanted to tell. Otherwise, the execs would say, you can't have that in a Christian cartoon. And so they decided, well, you know what? We're going to do it anyway. And we're going to do it independent. And I bet they did the head thing too. So anyway, violence in cartoons is not always necessary. I know when people say, "Oh, why did you do that? That's not necessary." Usually they're pearl clutchers and snooty, and they say it in a snooty way. And by snooty, of course, I mean bad faith. They're not really interested in if violence has a place. They're just their morals are offended. But in a certain way, you have to admit that gratuitous violence can be bad because it's used as a crutch, okay? Not because it's offensive, but because it's used as a crutch. It is replacing something that should be there instead. However, sometimes removing a certain amount of violence also falls into that trap of removing what is necessary, where you should have a little more violence to tell a proper story. So I am going to defend Long Gone Gulch. God, there's Long Gone Gulch. I'm going to defend them. I'm going to defend their use of violence because I believe it enriched the story. When you make anything, one of the most important things you have to do is decide the tone of your setting, of your story. Long Gone Gulch very much is supposed to be comedic, but it's not supposed to be kind of a light and funny comedic. It's supposed to have a little bit of edge to it. It's supposed to be kind of a dark comedy. And it works especially well in a Wild West setting, okay? There's a reason why they called it the Wild West. It is untamed. There is an inherent lack of safety venturing out into the wild frontier. So if you're going to tell a story about the wild frontier, the frontier needs to feel wild and dangerous. Let's take a soft uwu story, if you will, Steven Universe. Funnily enough, Steven Universe is about war, with an alien species and everything, but it's very clear that at the get-go, Rebecca Sugar was after a specific tone. That tone was supposed to be very, lovey-dovey and touchy-feely and, ooh, we're friends, I'm usually really hard on cartoons that do that elsewhere, but I give Steven Universe a pass. First of all, it's because I have to acknowledge my bias. I do like Steven Universe. It struck a very specific chord when I first watched it, so I give it a lot of leeway. However, the second thing is that when that lovey-dovey, feely nonsense happens, it's not in original IP. It's usually in a remake or something, and that's where my ire goes, is because you took something that originally existed in one way and turned it into another. But because Steven Universe was original IP, I give it a lot more leeway. So Steven Universe very clearly wanted to have a certain feeling. So I do not begrudge it when it tones down the violence in Steven Universe, because Rebecca Sugar had a very specific vision. Now, in Long Gone Gulch, they're a lot more violent, they're willing to show blood, they're willing to show a lot more intensity, and I think that it fits the story. It kind of has to, and I feel like showing blood in this cartoon was a very specific artistic choice that I am suspecting, this is speculation, I do not know if this is the creator's intent, but I am speculating that is one of the big reasons why it was made as an independent pilot, so that they could not be shackled by, the Hayes Law rules and regulations nonsense and show what they actually wanted to show. Now, that being said, Rawhide's weapon of choice is a slingshot as opposed to a gun. And it would be interesting if they actually gave her a gun with bullets, but that might have been a step too far, either because they knew that they wanted this to be mainstream at some point and there would be give there, or maybe they actively made the choice where, like, you know what, we don't want to mess with guns, we'll just give her a slingshot, which is perfectly fine if that's the choice they wanted to make. They still obviously wanted to add a certain amount of violence in this cartoon because it fits its theme. And the kind of long and short of it is that Long Gone Gulch is aiming for something very specific, and they're going for it, and I believe that in order to give the proper kind of dark, cartoon, brutal violence feel to it, they had to do it in an independent way. Because I honestly don't believe that if they tried to pitch the idea and get studio money to make their pilot, that they would have been able to do as much of that violence as they did in the indie one that they obviously made. So to wrap this up, Long Gone Gulch is kind of a callback to when cartoons were a little more violent and were able to show a little bit of blood in order to give it that little bit of extra grit. And I believe that in this particular case, it's appropriate for Long Gone Gulch to have that level of grit because it's about the West. The West is all about having true grit. I mean, True Grit is a Western movie. So it has to have that level of it in order to feel Western. And I'm glad that they're kind of leaning into that Western theme and tone by showing a little more rough and tumble. Anyway, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up that rant for today. So you people know what you do. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and tickle those sacred engagement buttons. Like the video, definitely subscribe, whatever platform you happen to be watching this on. I definitely want you on board. And, of course, I also want to hear your thoughts. So if you want to give me a shout out, or if you want to say something about this video, go ahead and comment down below. And, of course, share it. If you happen to be on Minds.com, it's as simple as hitting that remind button. If you're on YouTube, I'm pretty sure there's other ways of sharing it. Copy paste the link, share it on social media, show people that you watch the cool stuff, and that I'm a cool dude and you want to hang out with cool dudes. Anyway, also if you want to stalk me elsewhere on the interwebs, here are my links. I always put them here on the screen. And of course, I always push, if you happen to be on YouTube, Minds.com, which is the other platform I use, unless you're already on Minds, in which case, good on you. I always push it because it's alternative media, and we definitely need alternative media at this time. Anyway, with all that said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you all stick around, and until next time, partner, yippity-dappity yippee-ki-yay deuces. Or, something Western like that.